People called it a flying saucer, a dinner plate, and of course the flying pancake. It is one of the weirdest aircraft to ever wear the star and bar of the US military, but this was a serious experimental fighter born from a desperate need. In an era of legendary warplanes like the Corsair and Hellcat, the US Navy invested in a plane that could take off in just 200 feet and was almost impossible to stall. This is the improbable story of how a flying pancake was designed to win a war. If you saw a grainy photo of it, you might think it was a UFO. In fact, its first test flights over Connecticut in the early 1940s triggered a wave of UFO reports, but this bizarre circular aircraft wasn't extraterrestrial. It was the Vought V-173, a top-secret American prototype. Its flat, disc-shaped body served as its own wing, with two massive propellers at the tips. It sat on the ground at a steep 22-degree angle, forcing the pilot to use windows at their feet just to see the runway. So, in the middle of World War II, why would the US Navy pour resources into a plane that looked like a pancake? The answer isn't in the skies, but on the unforgiving decks of aircraft carriers at sea. By the early 1940s, aircraft carriers were the new queens of naval warfare. While large fleet carriers were formidable, the Navy also relied on dozens of smaller, cheaper escort carriers. These jeep carriers were vital for protecting convoys, but they had one huge drawback: a very short runway. Landing a high-performance fighter on a moving deck was already dangerous. Doing it on a small carrier was exponentially worse. Conventional planes needed high speeds to avoid stalling, making a safe landing a nerve-wracking exercise. The Navy had an impossible request: a plane with amazing low-speed handling for short takeoffs and landings that could also become a high-speed fighter. Aircraft design is all about compromise, but one engineer believed he could break the rules. His name was Charles H. Zimmerman. Zimmerman was obsessed with the low aspect ratio wing, a wing that's short and stubby. Normally these wings create immense drag from swirling air at the tips, called wingtip vortices. Zimmerman's brilliant fix was to place massive propellers at the wingtips, spinning to counteract these vortices. This would theoretically eliminate the drag and allow a circular, all-wing aircraft to fly at incredibly low speeds without stalling. It was a radical theory, but Vought Aircraft took a gamble on Zimmerman and convinced the Navy to fund a proof of concept. The V-173, built from wood and fabric, the V-173 was a technology demonstrator powered by two small 80-horsepower engines. On November 23, 1942, Chief Test Pilot Boone Guyton took it up for its first flight. The trip was a success, but it also proved the design's single greatest triumph: it was almost impossible to stall. Guyton reported he could pull the stick all the way back, and the aircraft would just refuse to drop. This was a godsend for carrier operations, where a stall during landing was often fatal. The V-173 flew around 190 test flights, logging over 130 hours and showing a stunning ability to take off in less than 200 feet. Famed aviator Charles Lindbergh flew the V-173 and was amazed by its low-speed capabilities. The plane's toughness was also proven by accident when an emergency landing on a beach ended with the aircraft flipping over. Incredibly, the robust frame protected the pilot and prevented serious damage. The V-173 had proven Zimmerman's theory. The Navy was so impressed they ordered a full-blown, combat-ready version, the X-5U Flying Flapjack. This all-metal fighter was designed for two 1350 horsepower engines, armed with machine guns, or cannons, and projected to have a top speed over 425 miles per hour, with a landing speed of just 20 miles per hour. As Vought wrestled with the complexities of the X-5U after the war, the program was plagued by delays. The incredibly complex gearbox, meant to synchronize two powerful engines, created severe vibration issues, but a much bigger obstacle was on the horizon: the jet engine. By 1947, the jet age had arrived, and the Navy's priority shifted from low-speed handling to pure, unadulterated speed. The pancake's short takeoff advantage became less important as more powerful steam catapults and larger carriers were developed. In a world of sleek jet fighters, the strange propeller-driven disc looked like a relic. The unsolved technical problems and high costs were the final nails in the coffin. The Navy canceled the X-5U program on March 17, 1947, before the fighter ever made an official flight. The completed airframe was reportedly so tough that it had to be destroyed with a wrecking ball. The V-173 never saw combat, and its successor never flew, but to call the program a failure misses the point. The V-173 was an experiment to test a radical theory of flight, and in that mission it was a spectacular success. It proved Charles Zimmerman's visionary ideas were right. showing that a plane could be both fast and fly at impossibly slow speeds. The flying pancake was a brilliant idea that was simply a victim of bad timing, a piston engine solution in a world turning to jet power. Had it been developed a few years earlier, the skies over the Pacific might have been filled with these strange circular fighters. While the fighter program was cancelled, the original V-173 prototype was saved and transferred to the Smithsonian Institution. After an 8-year restoration by volunteers, this one-of-a-kind aircraft is now on display at the Frontiers of Flight Museum in Dallas, Texas, a timeless testament to audacious innovation. The story of the flying pancake is just one of many incredible tales from the golden age of experimental aviation. What other bizarre, forgotten aircraft should we cover next? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this look into one of history's weirdest warplanes, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories of the machines that defied convention.